lots of influencers in the space. Vegas has been taking great care of us. You guys all having a good time? Yeah. So I guess, just to start it off, we'll just have all of them here kind of tell us who they are, why they got in the space. We'll just kind of go from there. So you want to start with you?
Yeah, my name is Meredith Darden, on Twitter, Murphy Murph. I got into crypto because I just wanted to start investing, and then I became completely obsessed with it and ended up really getting involved in like Facebook at first, Reddit, Facebook, and then kind of moved over to Twitter. So currently I work with a couple different companies, helping out with social strategy and marketing, but it's been a joy.
What's up, everybody? I'm Michael, aka Nine, and yeah, I don't know. I just talk about cryptocurrency online to people, and people seem to like it, so it's fun.
I like it. How goes it? I'm Ken Bozak. I talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin accessories. I got into crypto because the traditional markets just said no to me. I wanted to invest in things, and I found out there's such borders of entry as accredited investing and shit like that. Yeah, boo that shit. So I looked into other things, and luckily I found the Internet of Money and Andreas and the Internet of Things and Vitalik, and I just fell down the rabbit hole of permissionlessness and do whatever the hell I want with my money. So I invested in some ICOs. I got really fucking lucky. I got to interview a lot of people in this space, and here I am now, so thank you all.
Awesome, Ken. Love you, bro. How you guys doing? I go by the pseudonym Vortex in the space, and really mostly people know me from working on the World Crypto Network, and I've just recently started a new YouTube channel called the CryptoCast Network, where I discuss Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Really, I got into the space because I believe that Bitcoin is probably the one thing that's going to save this planet from going into complete financial destruction. I think that really Bitcoin is going to allow the world to actually have a ability to transact freely for the first time in human history, and it really will produce a new golden age. So I really was very passionate about spreading the message about Bitcoin, talking about Bitcoin, making sure people knew about Bitcoin, and really got involved about 2013 or so, and became sort of relatively popular on Twitter last year when I was very much advocating for the user-activated soft fork for Bitcoin.
I am Crypto Indio. It's going to be my year anniversary in crypto, probably this next month. But so I got into the space because I wanted to change. I was working a traditional job in healthcare, and I didn't like my job, and I remember having really bad postpartum and being at home with my daughter, and I called my husband and I was like, I'm going to invest in this magic internet money stuff, like there has to be something else around. And I did, and then I taught myself how to trade, and then now I do marketing and consulting for different companies in the space, and it changed my life for the better, and I'm glad to be here. Oh, and I do meetups also too, they're fun.
Hey guys, my name's Randall from Australia. Some of you guys probably know me as BitLord on Twitter. I got into Bitcoin in 2012. I mean, back then, I think most people heard about something called the Silk Road. That was what brought a lot of people into it. But after I had a look at what was actually happening behind the Bitcoin, it just drew me into that whole world. And I think most people can relate. As soon as you get into crypto, as soon as you hear it, you can't get out again. You just want to learn more, spend all your time in it, and eventually start working it. So I quit my job in oil and gas. I had a very good job. Everything was great, but I just wasn't happy. As sown as I found out about it, that was it. So it's like 6-7 years later, I'm still here.
How you guys doing? I'm Chark Vampire. I'm here to basically be able to get all these guys into R-rated movies, buy beer for them, and a couple of them I'm going to get some fake IDs. We're going out tonight. So I'm probably the newest of the new and the oldest of the old up here, right? By far. I got into crypto in January 25th, 2018. The perfect time to get into crypto. And I now have a YouTube channel, just kind of been growing in the space. I love it, and it's exciting, and I get to hang out with, kids like this who get to teach me a bunch of really cool stuff. So,
my name is Robert Beatles, also known as Crypto Beatles. So, I'm a Christian, father, husband, own a blockchain development company, also the co-founder of Monarch. So, we got a lot of great people out here. So, all being in the space and everybody, basically having a big following, You guys have seen, a lot of projects. You guys have probably seen a lot of projects come and go. A lot of projects hit you guys up, want you guys to cover. What's maybe some of the, what's like maybe one of the craziest stories you guys have of one of these cryptocurrency companies asking you guys to do something?
Oh, I got one.
So, yeah, just feel free to just jump in and just tell us some crazy stories about this.
There was one conference I was at where this guy literally asked me to pump this coin, and I was like, I don't do that shit, but he was like serious about it, and yeah, he's an asshole. So.
Sounds like 9 out of 10 people I meet at these events. Yeah, my story's a little different. I'll try to wrap it up quickly, but most people know about me promoting a company called Clout.io that scammed a bunch of people. And yeah, I worked with them. Yeah. Unfortunately, they kind of pried on a situation I was in where YouTube was demonetizing my channel and banning my videos, and I was on Twitter like, damn, this sucks. I used to actually make some AdSense for my YouTube videos, and I was like, just quit my job shit. So I was like, this sucks. So they were like, oh, we're working on a platform that's going to monetize. We're sort of like Steam it, and this is like before DTube and BitTube and all these things. And I was like, oh, this sounds awesome. And they flew me out to here, Vegas. I was at their ICO launch party, and I was on Twitter watching the investors that, as I was interviewing the founder. People were like, I'm not getting my tokens, the smart contract address isn't triggering. I'm standing right next to the founder and the guy in charge of the smart contracts, and they're just doing lines of blow and getting drunk, and I'm just like, oh, so this is what an ICO looks like. So I literally just packed my shit and booked my own flight home, left Vegas, never got reimbursed for any of that, but yeah, they used my situation of my soapbox to for me to give them my own clout, no pun intended, to promote their project. And I ran into the guy at Consensus in New York City, and I immediately went live on Twitter and was calling him out as a scammer. And instead of Consensus kicking him out, they actually escorted me off the property, and he publicly exited with $20 million, so I don't know what Consensus was doing. But that's my story about scams in this space, and just be careful, because even though I may have credibility or whatever, people can take advantage of me, and then I accidentally could take advantage of you. So do your own due diligence, that's all.
Meredith, yeah.
I totally
Yeah, just a quick note. Really, when you start to get a certain amount of followers, especially last year during the hype, you get a lot of DMs about trying to pump products. And we've seen some people, their integrity go complete to zero because they've accepted some of these offers. And so what you want to do is you want to look for people that don't pump scam coins. You want to look for people with integrity. And even if something happened in their past, something like with Ken, when he clearly lets his followers and his audience know what happened and why it happened. So it's just really important to don't trust and verify. That's the really big mantra that is big in Bitcoin. Don't trust. Verify, because this is the reality of the situation. Everybody wants to print their own money. Everybody wants to take advantage of somebody. Everybody wants free money. And so in this space, there's a lot of scams. And I think most people are now finally getting to be aware of that really 99% of the things in this space, specifically the blockchain space, are scams. So that's that word's starting to get around. But it really is crazy what happened last year. And to be in the middle of it was really, really interesting. Again, just news blowing up crazy, Bitcoin hitting $15,000+, getting DM'd every single day by people offering you hundreds of thousands of dollars to print to pump their coin, and it was absolute madness. But there are some people that that lost credibility, but there are some people that were still standing, and for those people, I have a whole lot of respect.
Meredith, you got something?
So my story is kind of crazy because I wouldn't necessarily say that it was a scam. It was just a very bizarre situation that I got wrapped up in. So like I said, I got started on Facebook, and there's a large Facebook group called Crypto Coin Trader. I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of it. Joe Blackburn runs that, and he's a very good friend of mine. I'm in Louisiana, he's right there in Mississippi, so we just became really good friends. And at some point, this guy came along, and he's like, look, I want to... his name is Sasha, he's Russian. He's like, I want to make this this augmented reality game similar to Pokemon Go, where people can go out and get rewarded in crypto for, finding treasure chests and had to do with trivia. And to me, it sounded like a really awesome entry for getting wider adoption of people using crypto, getting crypto, and making it super accessible, right? And so I'm very diligent. I went through the white paper. I talked with Sasha personally. I saw that the game was actually in development. And so I started working with them, and I worked with them for 5 months. And it became the point that like Sasha would call me at like 5 a.m. in the morning, like telling me, like freaking out. Like he was like almost like he had kind of like it was insane. You know, he was beckoning me for any little thing, everything. And then one day, he started the ICO, and then like 3 days later, the website was gone. He was gone. He never paid me. He returned all the money. No one has heard from him since then. So it wasn't like he stole anyone's money or like anyone got scammed. I mean, I didn't get paid for months of work, but yeah, that was my crazy ICO story. It's the weirdest thing that ever happened.
I'm gonna plug an app, but there's an app called Aircoins that sounds like that project, and it exists. We could play Pokemon Go and collect crypto here in Vegas.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good idea, you know?
Anybody else got anything?
Yeah, I feel like you know, every day there's a new company, there's a new idea. People see how easy it is to go ahead and raise money through ICO. So everybody has an idea, and you know they don't spend a lot of time putting it together. Some of the things that they want to achieve are just completely outlandish. But you know, at the time it was very easy for them to put something together that sounds half decent. Everybody's happy to give them money, but you know, when you take a closer look at it, it's like, well, how are we actually going to generate any value here? A lot of people, they just wanted, to me it seems like they wanted money to just, pursue what was like, in my opinion, like, when you're a kid, you come up with an idea, and it's like, you're told that's dumb, you don't do that. It feels like that was the case, but these people were getting money, they're irresponsible with it, they're traveling the world, they're going to these places, they're spending it up on 5-star hotels, first class flights, that sort of stuff. They basically just piss investors' money away, and that largely was that whole sort of scene. So I didn't want a hell of a lot to do with it, and there was some good money. These guys are they're happy to pay big money if you push a product or something like that. But at the end of the day, when you have a look what's actually behind it, there's not a lot of substance. So I'm glad that the regulators are stepping in now. I'm glad that there's more pressure, and I feel like next year it's going to be a much cleaner scene. We're not going to see a whole lot of this, and anybody that does try to do that, they're going to go to jail. They're going to get in trouble. Those days are over now. So I'm glad we've gone through this 2018 year.
Yeah, even to touch more on that, like I think it just goes to the fact that if you're working with companies, like as a quote unquote influencer, whatever you want to call it, as a person with influence on the internet, like it's super important to literally do every due diligence you can, and that even goes beyond just like researching things on Google and the internet. Like goes to like, if I work with a company, it's because I've met them in person, it's because I've spent hours and hours and hours with their CEO, with their founders, that I know exactly who they are as people, which is way more important than anything else. I know their morals, and I think it's like really important for everyone in the space who has any sort of influence or whatever words you want to put on it to do that, because whether we like it or not, whether we want it or not, whether like this was our intention or not, we are like, people follow us, they listen to us, and because of that, like we have a responsibility to people to do as much like due diligence research as possible before we talk about anything.
Yeah, and just to touch on the space being cleaned up, pretty much at this point it's now going to STOs, which is the security token offerings. That's going to be the big news going into next year with all this institutional investment. So I think most of the stuff is going to get cleaned up. The SEC has started just recently, behind the scenes subpoenaing just everybody, just hundreds and hundreds of ICOs. Starting to send them paperwork. So there's an more extreme amount of pressure this year, and going into next year with the STOs and the big institutional investment coming in, I think that we're going to see a whole lot less scams. So, and also, of course, just buy Bitcoin.
So one of the things I do, I have a YouTube channel and I do interviews. I like to interview different companies. One of the things that I like to focus on is transparency and mass adoption. But one of the questions that I do is I ask the team how they're helping with, or what their company is doing with transparency. So my interviews are non-biased. I let them come on, I give them a platform to speak about their project. I basically let them talk about their project and say what they're doing, and let them talk about how their company is being transparent in the space, so that it's essentially putting a face to it and holding them accountable to the community. So that's something I'm doing. But one of the things that I had a company contact me, because I do trading as well as an ICO, and they said they wanted help with marketing. I said, okay, well, would you guys like to come on to do an interview? And they said, well, we'd like to pay you to do TA on our project. And I said, well, what exchange are you guys on? They're like, we're not on an exchange. And I said, yeah, TA is technical analysis. It's basically charting. So essentially you have to have, there has to be a market for your supply and demand for your coin and all that fun stuff. So after that, I said, I'm not working with you guys. Thank you, though.
Cool. So, as well as being an influencer, most everybody here, I think, is also an investor of sorts, right? So you guys also invest in things that you guys believe in. So what's maybe one of the projects that you guys looked into, you believed in, and then maybe lost your ass on? What's one of those projects? Because everybody wants to talk about where they made all their money, but where'd you lose, and how are you wrong?
There's I don't know. So this one I thought was a very good idea. I love the idea. I thought, you know what, if these guys can do it, it can be a big thing. And it's what they were focusing on was this was, I think, maybe 2-3 years ago. It's similar to what a company started doing now called Aircoins, but there's a big problem if they wanted to do the geocaching. So what they wanted to do was like put coins all around the world and make it like a Pokemon hunt for these things. Now I think the name of them was it Big Cash or something like that? They were trading on Beta, which was a Chinese exchange a long time ago. There were on a few other small exchanges, but what they wanted to do was that whole model, but they didn't know how to do it. They had a great idea, they just couldn't execute it. So it was a very early stage of that. I was doing really well through the rest of the market, and I wanted to take a huge risk. I thought, if these guys can pull this off, I'm going to make so much money. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go hard on this thing now. So I loaded up, and I think at one stage I had about 10% of the supply, and I thought I was a genius. It turns out that they couldn't execute. They didn't know how to prevent from people from geo-spoofing, basically hacking the coins all across the world. They didn't have those skills, so the project fell apart, and they lost everything. So that was a good wake-up call for me, and I'm glad it happened early on as well, because it allowed me to be a lot more cautious in the future and say, look, the idea is great, but you really need to have a look at the team. Look, can they pull this off? Do they know what they're doing? And that was a big lesson for me. So that was a good one.
Yeah. So back in, I want to say it was like December, January, sometime around then, whenever things were kind of getting hectic, I invested in an ICO called Iongo. And I thought that, I don't know if anyone is familiar with it or not, but to me, the idea seemed great. They had a solid team from all indications. This was something good to get in on. And I was excited about getting in on it because it sold out in like minutes. And I was really excited and happy. The ICO price was $1. Today, it is 1 cent. 1 cent, yeah. So, if they were still like developing, they're working on like, so what their vision was to have somewhat decentralized Wi-Fi. So setting up a network of Wi-Fi where people can, almost always be connected to Wi-Fi, always have access to internet, going into these remote regions around the world that don't have internet access, and providing a way to make that possible. So that's something that I could really get behind, because I believe that like access to internet is almost at this point something like a basic human need, because that's so much of like news, what we do requires internet access. So I really liked it, and I thought that it was going to be great, and I watched it just bleed to death. It was like a very, very fast fall. As soon as they listed in February, I think, on an exchange, and it was a done deal. That was it. It was gone. So they also didn't have the measures in place to kind of prevent that from happening, because I do believe that ICOs should have a responsibility to protect the value of their token by maintaining control of supply, engaging market makers. Some people frown upon that, but when it comes to a situation where, people are investing tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then, you see that completely crash to zero, that's a risk you take with an ICO, but these companies, they should have some sense of responsibility for making sure, even if it's like buying back their own tokens to kind of control that.
So you're advocating for central planning then? for the most part.
Not necessarily.
No, maybe you guys have heard of this coin called Civic. No.
I love your city.
No, actually, no. Like I said, I'm mostly in the space for Bitcoin, so I haven't actually invested in the other projects. But I just wanted to sort of remind everybody, you know, where we are in the space again. That we are in this early days. That we are still very in front of what's going to be, you know, a multi-$100 trillion industry. So, you know, it's just important to just take a step back and remember where you are. Even if you lost money on an ICO or some project that you didn't understand in the beginning, you know, just remember that, you know, Bitcoin is the real reason that we're here. This is the permissionless value transfer. This is the decentralized, censorship-resistant, you know, unconfiscatable asset. This uncorrelated asset class, this new asset class that we're engaged in. That's really sort of the big win. So as long as you have some of that, you know, as long as you have some Bitcoin, then I think that your future will, you know, still continue to be bright. There's lots of innovation in the space. There's lots of interesting things, really, but it's all experimentation. Really, Bitcoin is almost the only thing that you could say it's not almost an experiment anymore. You know, like again, the institutional investment is coming in. So at this point, even if you lost, just remember that, you know, it really is early days, and there is a whole lot of upside left.
The best thing that can happen is if you do lose early on. So it's actually a really good thing. If you lose early on, that's fantastic, because if you come into the game and you start doing really well, you think you're a genius, it goes to your head, you start leveraging, you get more money, you tell your friends, and then, you know, it's not just you that gets hurt. So, you know, when you come in and that happens, that's fantastic, and you really got to take as much away from that as you can.
I'm actually waiting for the first one to jump up and yell BitConnect.
Yeah, that was good. I was waiting.
I was waiting for the first one to yell BitConnect. We should have the guy in the suit jacket, right? So, you know, one of the things that you know, since I'm so new in the space, and I'm by far the newest, you know, starting in January here, you know, one of the things is the business side of me kicks in, and you know, having built, you know, 20, 30 companies to over $1 million in valuation for the last 20 some years, one of the things that is looking at this space as kind of an outsider still, that I feel I am, is I still have to pull myself back into the people with the true power and the real money are still looking at the space. And this is what I fear for crypto and for the small people just like us, is I feel we're eventually going to get swept up in a situation to where once regulation does start to kick in on these ICOs, and a lot of people I do know in the space are now looking at IPOs also to go a lot more legitimate in the space and to give that trust. But one of the things I'm most scared about is that the fundamental changes that need to occur into adoption are going to be adopted by the big corporations like the PayPals, like IBM, like these big people who are coming into the market. And that's kind of one of the things where I'm scared I'm going to lose out. Like a lot of you guys got in early, you guys are going to be able to get in and into this very virgin environment with these big upswings. I feel I'm going to be kind of the guy, and the people who are going to come in a little bit later, we're kind of going to get a lot of this, you know, the blockchain uses are going to go to the big boys. And a lot of people are looking for mass adoption and excited about regulation. And I actually think that one of the things I'm fearful for the space, and even though in 2019 I think it's got to happen, I think 3 things are going to happen in 2019. Somebody's got to go to jail, which is going to happen, right? Some big KuCoin or some big ICO, some big exchange person is going to go to jail. Number 2, exchanges, because they're so unfair, need to go to fiat. Right, it's unfair with U.S. exchanges and regulated exchanges versus non-regulated. And then number 3 is these ICOs, which is the topic we're talking about right now. I feel that the next Google, the next Amazon, they're out there, right? But it's like finding a needle in a haystack. And I know you guys get hundreds of ICOs thrown to you. Have you guys felt yet, any of you, that you've had that Google come to you, that Amazon come to you, and why? And when do you think it's coming?
Oh, yeah.
So I actually did an interview for a company, I believe they're here today, but it's for a healthcare company. I come from a background of healthcare. I worked in HIV/AIDS for 7 years before I got into crypto. So I saw the huge problem in healthcare with getting people care at a timely manner, especially my clients, because when they needed their medication or they needed care, a lot of them were on government assistance and weren't able to get it. And for their condition, they needed it. There's a company called MedX Protocol, and they aim to kind of bring healthcare together globally. And I'm extremely bullish on them, and I see them actually fixing a problem because they're kind of able to deal with the whole HIPAA and the privacy protection situation, which is another issue that a lot of these healthcare companies are dealing with, because in Europe, their privacy protection is different than in the United States, and even different states in the United States, we vary. So they're able to kind of go, kind of work around that and get things done, but also do it very legally. So healthcare, I'm extremely bullish on.
What was that name again?
I think it's MedX Protocol. Right here.
MedX Protocol. What, third floor? Third floor? Which exhibit hall? MedX Protocol.
Yeah, so it's interesting, I know a lot of people want the next Google, they want the next Facebook, right? They want this, they want this next company.
When moon, sir.
It's this old paradigm of thinking, though. You see, we actually already have this new Google and Facebook all wrapped up into one, this internet of money that is Bitcoin. And anybody on the planet right now has access to that. So I think once the world figures that out, that will be the next Google and Facebook. That's going to be the actual application platform, the programmable money that everything is going to be built on top of. And then in addition to that, it's not about maybe just finding this one company. It's about understanding that all of these protocols are going to have layers, specifically with Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin is working on this order of magnitude scaling solution called Lightning Network, and on top of that Lightning Network is going to be a whole new application layers that the next Facebooks and the next Googles are going to be built on top of. So we're still building the fundamental structures, the fundamental rails, and the fundamental layers that the next Google and Facebook and stuff can be built on top of. So for example, again, the Lightning Network is the layer 2. That's going to be, almost this interconnectivity protocol that all these other protocols are going to connect to get access to Bitcoin. And then we have something launched just recently called the Liquid Network from Blockstream, and that is this amazing inter-settlement network for exchanges for large players like banks and such that's going to eventually replace and compete with SWIFT. So we have Lightning competing with Visa and the payments, and again providing this new programmable application layer for people to build the next Google and Facebook on. And we're also building these inter-settlement layers that so all the big players can still move liquidity around. And again, all of this is what we're doing. All of this is coming together to build this new alternative financial system, this optional. Basically, you could say, this brand new optional financial system that is completely accessible and open to everybody. So you see these comparisons, you see them being built out now. It's going to play out over years and decades and such like that. But right now, I think it's almost a little bit too early to start looking, for the Facebooks and stuff. It's really, you have to pay attention to these fundamental protocols like Bitcoin and these layers that are being built. It's going to be the next 3 to 5 years. When Lightning is ubiquitous, when Bitcoin is ubiquitous, when everybody understands what Bitcoin is, that's when we're really going to start seeing some amazing applications built on top of that. And you see some resemblance of things like that now with OpenBazaar. Basically, what you want to do is you want to pay attention to things that doesn't ask for permission, right? Like something like a Silk Road, something like an OpenBazaar. Companies that don't ask for permission are going to be a huge wave of those that are coming, and you won't be able to stop them. Decentralized exchanges is another option, another example. But these types of things that don't ask for permission, these are going to be the most important companies in the next 10 to 20 years.
So you guys all being, influencers in the space and people looking to you guys to basically, tell them what's good, what's not. How do you guys do your due diligence yourselves to make sure that the stuff that you're putting in front of the people, are actually valid, investable? Or do you guys just put a disclaimer? How do you guys do that?
I go there and I meet the companies.
All right.
Like, I've spent the last 4 to 6 months or something like that, mostly in Asia, going around meeting Matrix AI Network, meeting VChain, going to their offices, seeing if they're actually working on stuff. It's pretty easy to do smoke and mirrors over the internet. Like, it's extremely easy to do smoke and mirrors over the internet. You get a bunch of people in a room that you don't know in front of computers, take a picture, and it seems like you're a Fortune 500 company all of a sudden. But going and actually meeting the companies face to face, talking with their CEOs, their COOs, all of these different things, seeing the products that are actually, they're actually building and seeing them actually in use has given me way more confidence in the space as a whole, in some of these companies, and it's just interesting, it's fun.
I mean, if you can't travel like 9 to Asia and spend a few months with companies, what you could really do is look at the team, investigate their asses. They're public, and if they're not, get out of Dodge. But look into what they've been doing. If they're doing healthcare on the blockchain and they used to work at Arby's, you may want to question that shit. But if they've been working in healthcare for 20 years and they see an actual problem that they've been dealing with and a solution in the blockchain industry and a way to bring that together and bridge the gap, you may have a diamond in the rough. But you have to look at the people and see what they've done to really predict what they can do.
And reach out to them too, because even if you can't travel to Asia, you can still get on phone calls with them.
Yeah.
If they don't respond to your phone calls or emails, then that's a huge red flag. You can pretty much contact, even if you don't have any followers or whatever, you can contact anyone you want in the space. You should be able to go in their Telegram group and talk with their CEO, and if you can't do that, that's kind of a red flag. So get on a phone call with them, talk to them, send emails back and forth, learn as much as you can about these people, and make your own judgment from there.
That's a really good point, what you said there. I think that a lot of people are, sometimes hesitant to reach out directly to the CEOs or COOs, but it has always been my experience that with solid projects, they're more than willing to chat with you. If you don't understand something, I've asked to join team calls from companies. Can I just sit in on one of your team calls? And they're like, yeah, sure, that's fine. I'm like, I just want to listen in and hear your process and hear how you work. If you take a look at GitHub, you may not understand a lot of the technical stuff. I don't understand a lot of the technical stuff. But if you get familiar with GitHub, you can see whether or not they're actually developing, whether or not they're doing what they say they're doing. If they're not putting out weekly, bi-weekly, monthly updates on what's going on with the team, what's going on with the marketing, what's going on with development. These are all things that, to me, are red flags, because right now, these companies should be 100% focused on the user. So any questions that you have, any ideas, suggestions, whatever, if something isn't right, say something, okay? That's one of my biggest things too, is that you might see a project and you're like, well, that doesn't look right, and then you just kind of brush it off to the back of your head. But we're self-policing at this point. So in the interest of, don't go out there and just bash a company because you think their marketing sucks. But if you see something that you think is wrong and you try to confront the team about it and they can't answer for it, then I feel like it's our responsibility to talk about that with one another, because at this point we're self-policing, self-regulating.
So one of the things is the new guy, of course, up here is you guys have a lot more experience I do and look at these ICOs. So kind of my game plan when I go look at these ICOs is I have two hats. I have the investor hat and I have the I want to make money right now hat, the trader hat, right? So I always put the trader hat on first. And when I look at the teams, the first thing I do is I look for who in the hell is running the marketing. Right, because you can have the most amazing project in the entire world, and it can literally solve almost any issue in that space that they're looking to. But unless they have the ability to get it out there, and I can't tell you how many widgets have died over the. Does anybody know where all the best ideas in the world are? Anybody?
Graveyard.
In the graveyard. That's right. They're in the graveyard. That's right. It's exact. So I go out there and I want to find the teams that have the strongest marketing team, because I know they'll be able to get, now I'm looking for a project that has good fundamentals also to match that, but as my investor, I'm looking to get in this project 4 to 6 months, boom, and I'm out and I've made my money on it. And if I do feel, if I can put, just for example, 5,000-10,000 into an ICO, and I can pull my money out, make my money back, and then whatever I have left over, I'll leave it in as a long-term play if I think there's fundamentals in the company. But at least I've pulled the skin out of the game, and I'm playing with the house money.
Cool. So hey, I think right now we're going to take some questions. Is that anybody out there in the audience have some questions? Going? All right. Or I'll come to you. You meet me halfway.
Yell it! BitConnect!
Hey guys, as influencers, we have to deal with censorship, and so I'm wondering if you have any knowledge on decentralized social media or how censorship can really impact us and how we can get around it.
Yeah, there's a few platforms you could use. The way YouTube kind of screwed me, I kind of went and looked for every other option I could find. D-Live used to be on Steam. I think they've moved on to their own blockchain. I think it was D-Live. Then you could use D2, which is on Steam or Steam itself. Somi, I think they're here. I ran into them somewhere. Let's see, there's a few, man, it's crazy. I was using Instagram for a while, and some of my pictures weren't getting many likes because I was using hashtags. So I stopped using hashtags altogether because like hashtag blockchain, hashtag Bitcoin, nobody sees it anymore. So I started using Steepshot, which is on the Steemit, and it's a decentralized version. Steem has its own problems, but it's pretty cool that when people hit the like button, I can make like $30 because I got a picture with Steve Wozniak. I was like, what? That's cool. Facebook doesn't give me nothing for that, and they shadow ban you when you do things like that. So yeah, I would definitely check out things like Steemit, D-Live, and I really like bit.tube. BitTube is really cool. A lot of these things that I'm really right now talking about were like the things that I thought that project I promoted a few months ago was going to do. Like damn, if only you did it. But these companies did. So definitely check out Steem, D2, D-Live. I mean, if you post music online, you could do D-Sound. If you do Instagram, there's Steepshot. Anything that you're doing as far as putting content on the internet, you could do on these decentralized platforms that gamify it, and you can earn crypto without ever having to buy anything. You just contribute to the platform by contributing content. People like it, you earn.
Yeah, Ken named a whole bunch, but this is basically, this is going to be the future. We're going to see more censorship. We're going to see more shadow banning. I've been shadow banned on Twitter a couple times. God knows why I stay. But there's going to be more of these cases. I mean, you just saw Alex Jones get banned, and he's not going to be the last. There's going to be a whole lot more. It's going to be really front and mainstream. We see a couple more of these guys get banned from literally every single platform. Like it wasn't just Twitter. It was Facebook. It was YouTube. I mean, like literally every platform. So there is this need for this ability to have this content that can't be taken down and that can be actually monetized, by the people and not by corporations. Direct peer and verified. So peer-to-peer, these types of peer-to-peer technologies, these are going to come online. So if you do see some kind of project like that, that's going to be good. Eventually, they will coalesce, of course, like every platform does, into some kind of Pepsi versus Coke thing. But they're going. Now is the fun times to start playing with these platforms and seeing which one may or may be the winner.
Right on. Anybody else got any questions out there?
What do you think about Ripple? This is for Vortex.
Say
What do you think
one
about
nice
Ripple?
thing about Ripple on Twitter a day, you'll never get shadow banned.
Ripple, XRP, the standard. It's really interesting to me how much some of these projects like Ripple claim to be decentralized. It's really weird because they say we're going to be more decentralized in the future, but you can't actually do that. You have to start decentralized and then move from there because it's a scale. You're not centralized or decentralized. It's always a scale. So people use this term decentralized all the time. Matt Corello, one of the Bitcoin core developers, says that we should probably start using the word trustless a little bit more. Because decentralized, it's a scale. It's not A or B. It's not decentralized or not decentralized. So when we look at all the projects out there, we see that the ones that are the most decentralized started decentralized, and they will continue to go that route. Projects like Ripple, they're 100% centralized. The company, Ripple Labs owns millions and millions of XRP, so they completely lock the supply up. Maybe you might like it a lot because they control the supply a lot there. So a lot of central planning in that project. So really,
She loves Ripple. She loves Ripple.
so really, a lot of central planning in that project. So really, if it depends on what you're looking for, but of course, it is Bitcoin.
Talk about how Ripple and XRP are two different things. People often get those very confused.
Yeah, they're the same thing.
But it is. Yes, the Ripple
Well,
test.
the thing is, guys, like Ripple, like they're a company, they're a business. That's what they do. So, I mean,
They launched Ripple, they launched XRP, the token. In fact, on CoinMarketCap, it said Ripple instead of XRP for years.
I know I was there, mate. But the thing is, like, they're a company. They're a company. They're a business. Their clients are institutions, banks. They work with governments. Now, let me tell you now, decentralization. It's a pipe dream. It's ridiculous. You cannot get anything done. You have everybody in here. Okay, let's decide on what we're going to wear tonight. Everybody puts their opinion. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. So I like it when a company is a company. That's what they're doing. So I like the fact they control the supply. I like the fact that they make the market. I like everything about that because they're very efficient. They get what they need to do done. So I mean, these guys have done a lot of amazing stuff in this space. I mean, a lot of people don't know they're actually behind the project Interledger. So have a look at Interledger. That's actually done a lot of work for Bitcoin, for crypto in general. That's a huge project that nobody pays attention to. But look, Ripple is a company, is a business, so they need to lock it down like that. If you get every employee an opinion on what's happening on the project, shit, nothing's ever going to get done. So that's my thoughts on Ripple.
Ripple, if you're listening, can I get a +1 at XRP Titbot? No, but that's like the coolest feature of Ripple to me. Like, I like that they have functioning shit. They have stuff that works. They have people that are getting things done. I mean, I don't like Ripple politically speaking. I mean, if I had the money, yeah, I'd invest in Philip Morris, and I wouldn't tell people to buy cigarettes, though. You know, it's the same thing. Ripple is fucking cancer. You can make money off of people doing dumb shit, like buying Ripple, but I wouldn't want to make my money that way. But they have cool stuff. I use the Titbot. I use XRP Titbot all the time, because these people troll me by tipping me Ripple because I hate Ripple so much. I've earned hundreds of XRP. So like, I can tip you +1 at XRP Titbot, and it's freaking cool. So like, you know, when people are like, oh, what's crypto? I was like, oh, I just tweet you now, and you have some in your DMs. So it's really cool what they're doing, but just know that it isn't Bitcoin. That's all.
Who else has got a question out there?
I'll just yell it. So we're enjoying getting influenced by influencers, but who do the influencers like getting influenced by?
That's
Who do you
nice,
look up
man.
to?
You guys, the people. I mean, like you guys are like that's where it comes from. I mean, you know, we do what we do because we enjoy it, and you know, we like just having fun, interacting, providing content, and just creating some sort of community. I mean, we never really thought about it. You know, we just started like posting shit on Twitter, and then people were like, hey, I like that, that's funny, and then before you know it, it's just fun.
Yeah, you know, for me, again, I'm in the space, you know, to uplift the world, to have this permissionless value transfer, to provide some kind of competition for the central banking cartel that has been here for hundreds of years. So that's, you know, the really big thing for me. So I think that that's why a lot of people follow me. I try to do a lot of news, do a lot of information about Bitcoin, about the latest technologies that are coming down the line. But really, my biggest advice is make sure you follow people that are smarter than you. Like, if there's a single person, you know, that you're smarter than on Twitter, like, stop following them. You have to only follow these really smart people. And you know, there's so many people in Bitcoin that I follow, you know, that are working in the space every single day. Jameson Lopp, you know, Andreas Antonopoulos, all these big guys. You really want to find what they're doing. What are the successful people doing in the space? Have they been successful for a long time? Those are the people you want to follow. Personally, I have my list open on Twitter at the One Vortex. I have a public list, Bitcoin list. It's got about 341 people on there, but I always make sure that that's public so that everybody can see who I follow, because that's what's important to me, is that the information gets out. I don't care how many followers I have. I don't care, you know, I'm not in this space to make money. I'm not in this space to make other people money. I'm in this space to spread truth and give people information and make sure that people know why it is that we're all here in the first place. And of course, that is Bitcoin.
So Nye.
I get a lot of my influence from CNBC Trader. Shout out to Crypto Man Ran, and everybody counter trade everything he says, and you'll be rich. I just gone against everything he's ever said the past year, and I'm doing great.
Yeah, it was pretty cool actually. Jake at I Love Crypto actually did that chart where he showed everything that, you know, Rand said. If you did the opposite, you make money. So shout out to Jake. So Nye, who influences you, man?
So I learn from everyone. That's kind of like the way I handle it. Like, I spend like a lot of time on Twitter every day, minimum 8 hours a day. Like, not even kidding. But I don't spend it all posting. I spend it learning and observing. You can't understand what people want to hear unless you look at what they're talking about. So I spend a lot of my time watching and observing what people are talking about. To be straight up, my man Billboard right here is like the reason that I started doing live videos. Not even kidding. Like, I was on Twitter I was watching his live streams, and I literally had 500 followers, and I was like, oh, that's fucking sick. He's doing something really cool. It's unique. It's different.
I was just in the shower doing a live stream, by the way.
Yeah, no, he was on the massage table doing live streams. I was like, dude, this guy's getting a massage and doing a live stream right now. What is this? This is sick. But yeah, that inspired me. I was like, I can do something. I can put my own unique twist on it, and I can like learn how to do something in my own way. And I see other people getting inspired by a lot of these people on this panel right here, and a lot of people in the audience as well. And I think that's super cool. You know, I think that we got to realize like, no idea is really an original idea. So if you can just take an idea, make it better, or make it your own, you can run with it and you can do some cool stuff.
Anybody else want to add?
So I originally came here to make money. Like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom and, you know, make money. So I originally came here for that. But when I actually got onto like crypto Twitter, I found out how awesome the community was, and I learned a lot from just different people that post charts. That's actually how I learned how to trade. Is I bought 2 used books on eBay, and I'd watch all these different chartists post charts, and I would kind of like use that as comparison, so that helped. But I also like to, that's one of the reasons why I do meetups, is kind of to bring the community together, so I can actually meet a lot of you guys face to face and talk and learn. And you know, there's a project that you guys are really bullish about or excited about, or you have an idea or something. So just to be able to connect and to communicate with people, that's how I learn, and that's what inspires me.
Anybody else want to add to it?
All right, I'm going to start to advocate for senior discount trading. Okay, for old people like me. I want bigger fucking buttons. Yes! I need that shit, seriously. And if TradingView doesn't move the damn alarm button away from the side of the end of the right of the chart, I swear to God, I'm going to fucking write TradingView every day. Right? That damn alarm button on the right side, so it makes me so angry right there, right? It makes me so angry. You know, it's funny because I mean, you know, I'm a follower of a bunch of these guys on, you know, and I watch a lot of people, and being so new into the space, you know, the challenge with the influencers on the space is it became a good and a bad for me, right? I mean, it did a lot of damage, and I'd have to say, and that's the one thing I have an issue with Twitter, is there needs to be like a verifiable, like if you make like CNBC should not be allowed to post on Twitter, right? And it's like, I mean, there's just so many bad tweets out there, and there's so much bad knowledge that's the thing that hurt me. And when I first started, I mean, I followed a bunch of bad people, and I got wrecked in my very first trade. That's what made me the trader I am today. And I think that, you know, what influences me is watching a bunch of people make a bunch of really intelligent posts. And it's so challenging to watch you guys, and it's actually magical watching a bunch of these guys post when you have such a limited platform to post on, when you're trying to give out so much great knowledge. And it's just it's the sharing. I mean, the free information you get off Twitter is absolutely invaluable. And thank all you guys for being there in the space before me to make it possible for people like me, old people, to come on and be a part of the community. Thank you.
I mean, even to add on to that real quick, like, I like the fact that CNBC is on Twitter. Like, the matter of fact is, like, whether you want to count counter trading or whatever, like, conflict is good. Conflict is what's going to move the space forward. If we don't have conflict, then there's no resolution. If we don't have resolution, there's no evolution. So that's my opinion on it. Like, if there's bad people in the space, yeah, there's bad people in the space. They're most likely going to get weeded out, but through conflict, we can all grow and we can have that happen.
God, I thought that about HiGen 6 months ago.
About what?
HiGen. I followed HiGen when I first started trading. Thank God. There you go.
Yeah, you know, the more eyes on crypto, the better, right?
So if there's one influencer or whatever you want to call it again, you know, an enthusiast in the space that you're going to follow, Andreas Antonopoulos.
Yeah.
Get his book, check out The Internet of Money, Mastering Bitcoin, just check out Andreas. You know, it's not entertaining, he's fucking boring. Andreas is so unfair. He is so boring, but he's freaking informative, and you'll get about 6 months worth of education in 1 hour, like straight up. It's gonna feel like 6 months, but afterwards, if you enjoy learning, you know, maybe you'll do what I just left them on. I went to the gym and I ran 5K, and I was just listening to Andreas like I was listening to like Little Pump or something. Like I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Fuck the free out of fiat. And that's how I kind of got my first knowledge with like podcasts, you know, and people like Andreas Antonopoulos, the Bitcoin podcast. Shout out to the Tits podcast right there. You know, and you know, check out like people that have been in the space for a while. And like again, Andreas is definitely the one you guys have to follow if you're going to follow anybody. Again, it may not be entertaining, but it will be very informative.
Yeah, I mean, we all have podcasts up here. You know, minus the CryptoCast Network. Everything I do and everything I tweet, all the information I give is always free because there is, like you say, so much noise. You know, in this space, it's really difficult, and so I just try to provide as much signal as I can. And again, just kind of sharing more of the technology side, really, because I'm a bit of a developer. But so I just try to share what I think is the truth. And you want to follow people like that. Follow people that are clearly passionate about it, not people that are just posting, you know, chart prices or things like that. That's your thing. That's fine. But also try to follow people that are following the fundamentals, right, of the space, and that's what's really important.
Cool. So we got about a minute left. So it was a big honor. Appreciate everybody coming up here. You want to? We might have time for a quick question. All right, go ahead.
Thank you all for coming.
What up, Ken? I love you, Ken. I love Ken too. He's awesome. Look at him. So I'm losing my voice tonight because I've been hanging out with Beatles and going to Wendy's and Ken's party the last 3 days, and I lost my voice because of it. I love content creation. Anybody who ever listens to any of my Asperger like rants, they know that I think YouTube and Twitter and just talented content creators like yourselves is the way to mass adoption. So yeah, I love seeing you all together. I think getting you all together. You know, y'all have unique personalities that appeal to individuals in the space, but getting you all together to share is a good way to kind of weed out the bad. I do a lot of influencer panels myself. I had Ken on one, and this is how I like to end all of mine. I like to start here and have you say something nice about the person to your left.
I need to work out more.
Yeah. We all do.
So anyways, we're
The Australian Ken of Bitcoin.
All right.
Yeah, well, I think Wendy's awesome. I came across Wendy, like I think it was a couple of months ago, and it was just so good to see someone come fresh into the space, pick it up really quickly, and just start producing amazing, awesome, informative content, and that's great. So.
I'm sitting next to you now, and I've actually learned a lot just by the short time that we spent together. So I'm gonna have to listen to more of your stuff because you're extremely knowledgeable. I don't understand a lot of the tech stuff, and you're gonna help me.
I'm so happy it's him. He's sitting next to me right now.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, like I said, I give away a lot of free information. This is all I think about is Bitcoin for the past 5+ years. Not just the code itself, but the fundamentals and how Bitcoin is going to evolve. And I have a lot of thoughts on that, and I follow a lot of really smart people. So I do retweet them a lot and things like that. So yeah, definitely, if you want to learn more about the technical side, at @the1vortex on Twitter. But what the hell can I say about Ken? I mean, everybody loves Ken. Everybody loves Ken. And I just want to say, Ken, you know what? To me, you're a bit of an inspiration in the space about, like family, about what Wendy was saying about how the community of crypto Twitter is so involving and is so nice and is so welcoming. That's a really big part of it. The space you'll find is a lot more welcoming than others. And Ken is a great example of that.
I mean, this community obviously is welcoming. Look where I'm at right now. Like, thank you guys. But yeah, I mean, for Nye, dude, this dude is an inspiration to me. I've seen this guy travel the world, and I've been on my own little tour as well. And every time I'm like, this sucks, I want to go home. I see this dude traveling another 1,000 miles somewhere else in another part of the world, and I'm just like, man, I want to do that. And I am doing it. And I keep doing it. And it's really inspiring to see you doing it with the energy that you have. Like, dude, I know personally from traveling so much, this shit is tolling, dude. It's tolling. So thank you for doing what you do, man.
Thank you. Meredith is one of the nicest people I know in the space, by far. Beyond her knowledge and expertise in the space, she's just a good human being. Every single time that we hang out, she's always super kind, super friendly, super energetic. Beyond that, in the space, every single time I see her, she's like, oh, I'm working with this new project, and it's already a project that I've studied up, looked at, and been like, oh, this is a cool project, and all of a sudden she's working with them. So yeah, shout out to Meredith.
Yeah, you're great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Look, he's trying to bribe me over here to say something nice. But I'll let you go. I was already
ICO.
ICO.
Should really pump me.
No, actually, I don't think that I've had the pleasure of meeting you before today, but it's your attitude, your spunk. I really love the old jokes that you make about bigger buttons and stuff. I mean, this is great because I think that sometimes for the older generation, that maybe it is really intimidating to think about getting into something as crazy as crypto, and then you see all the young faces. And this completely radically different idea of what money should look like, what it can look like, and basically building these new economies. So to have someone like you, like being very vocal about it, and your approach to it, I think is absolutely awesome. So I'm definitely going to have to keep up with you more after this.
Well, thank
Big
you all.
Connect!
Big thanks to everybody up there on the panel. If you guys don't know who they are, make sure you check out their socials. Click on them, go to the site, and get the usernames, all that stuff. So, God bless. Next panel's up in 2 minutes.